guys. So thanks for all, and Jalmari, thank you so much. It was such a beautiful, wonderful movie. Such a nice contrast with all the bombings, all the beheadings, all the mine exploding. So basically, I want to ask you, my first question is, I love the character Atami Corpi. He was such a, not a relatable guy, but you'll see all the pressures of war hanging on him. How was this character inspired by any Russian folklore? Because I'm looking through some information. I found this character called Koshin, who is the nickname for the immortal deathless. How was this folklore, or what inspired you to do this character of Atami?
Well, SISU basically was the reason why I recreated the character Atami, and the folklore, the Koshai thing, is because I was thinking like, what would the Russian people would have called him if, because they needed a name for it. So it was that story from like a Russian mythology in a way. But Atami is built out from all the like really badass war heroes Finland had in during the World War II. So it's a combination and a little bit extra spice on top of it.
No, it was great. It was great.
So go ahead, John. Go ahead. So I would like to ask, like, what inspired you to create and bring this film to us, you being the director and writer of the film?
Well, I've always liked stories of men you shouldn't fuck with, like First Blood. So that was basically my main goal, and it's been a dream of mine since I was something like 12 to do something like this, and it's not easy to do an action film in Finland. So I'm lucky enough to be in a position of my career that it was possible.
Okay, Jalmari, well, the concept of SISU, I mean the word, not the movie, it's such some kind of determination going even beyond yourself. There is not even like a literal translation in English or any other language. So, well, as a filmmaker, what was your SISU moment in order to get this film done?
That was the writing part of it, because the script was born in a really dark place of me being, the pandemic was going on, and I hadn't done a film for 8 years, and I needed to be in that kind of anger to write something like SISU. So that's probably the SISU part of the how it came together.
Okay.
Ruben, do you want to join in too? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Ruben Peralta. One of the things that I love about your movie, it's not just based on action, also have a storytelling. And I'm a huge fan of rare exports, and you enjoy telling stories about people, like normal people, but in situations that, you know, the not normal situation. How do you create SISU without being like, without pretend to be like the same thing that we're watching or we're seeing now in action films like John Wick and all these superheroes that we are basically forced to, and we just don't enjoy more going to the movies like we did in the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s?
Well, that's a good question, because I love the old school action movies and how they were built in a way. Also, they were like original, and the one thing which is now somehow missing also is like the final showdown. That in the 90s and 80s films, you always have the biggest action scene in the end of the movie, and it feels it's missing now. Most of the action films, and you have like the biggest action scene is in the middle of the film or in the beginning even. I think you have to go step by step for bigger and bigger and bigger, and in the end you have to do something really fucking weird and bigger than during the whole film. That's basically my recipe, how to say it, for doing something like this.
Thank you.
Okay, basically, I wanted to ask you, it must have been so much fun doing this movie because all the explosions, all the beheadings, the blood, the gore. Especially, I love the scene where almost beginning of the mines, where the soldiers like, you go, like, okay. How much fun was it for you? I guess, Jalmari, I think you will have such a blast and saying we need more blood. That must be the best line for a director to have in their arsenal. So tell me, how freaking good was this making this?
It was probably the best time of my life so far, because we shot it in Finland and I had a lot of friends, and I basically knew everyone who was working there like really well, and also the energy, which was perfect because it was financed so fast that I only had one version of the script, and that's what we made to shoot. And it always was in a really tight schedule in a way. So there was no like development hell in between. So the same energy I had writing it like carried on to the making of the movie, and we all knew that this will be something special, and I really enjoyed it.
Go ahead, John.
So, touching up in something that you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, you mentioned that it is kind of difficult to make films in Finland. Were there any difficulties while you were filming SISU, being that there's like a lot of explosions and a lot of like movement scenes on your film?
No, we had a really good crew for all that stuff, and I knew what I was going to get. So I also thought that when I was writing that I know that I can pull it off. Only problems when shooting this film was the weather conditions and the horse, who really didn't want to do this film.
Luis, you're muted.
As the writer of this movie, well, every author takes one character and basically reflects his or her own personality on it. Which character is the most Jalmari one in this case?
Well, I have to say Atami, because I'm the coolest war hero ever.
I'm curious about the inspiration of your film, because I see that you like Rambo, and also you love classic films in action sequences, because it's like you said, on the 90s and 2000s we have all the actions at the end, and you now just give the action like a drop, like drops, like little by little. What was the inspiration? What movies? What inspiration? What characters? What inspiration to create SISU?
Well, John Rambo is one of the biggest ones, but I think like Clint Eastwood, Western, like, and like Sergio Leone kind of stuff, it's probably the foundation of this all.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Western on how you use the faces. Sergio Leone is expert on like, you know, first on the eyes, like the character eyes is very important at the moment before the action starts.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No, you want to, Luis, go for it.
I have another question.
Okay. So, Jalmari, well, with all of these scenes, you know, the minefield, the plane scene, Which was the one that you enjoyed the most when you saw it on screen? Like, hey, that's what I wanted to reflect, and that's just I did it. Like, you know, this accomplishment feeling.
Well, I have to say, when I saw it the first time it from the monitor, and when I saw it on the big screen, when Atami finds the gold ring, what happens in the actor's face when he discovers the gold in the hole, that was a moment when I knew that this movie will be like really fucking good. I don't know why, but that somehow was the thing for me. It was all like I don't know. It set the tone, like, and the bar for everything after that.
I think two main characters also in the movie is the music score and the editing. And it's super cool because when you finish this movie, I assume that you were also into editing. How challenging was for you as a creator of this universe, basically, because this is a whole universe in World War II. Like, how was that processing of editing the movie and create the music? Because I think it's super important, and it makes the I forgot how to breathe in many sequences.
Well, editing was a long process. At first, it felt like, okay, this is going to be an easy thing to edit because you basically, it's so straightforward. But with that simpleness, it really like makes it all even more difficult because you have to try to make everything, the pace and everything to work with the story, and there were a lot of like different versions of the beginning of SISU, for example. It was really it was so much more complicated than I ever thought it will be, and the music was even more complicated because usually when I'm editing, I have a lot of like temp music from the Spotify, from some other film which has the music basically like what I would like to have in this one. But with SISU, I didn't have anything. Like, I was trying to find it from everywhere, like in a really weird places also, but I never found a piece of music that it would be like exactly to help me to set the mood what I was trying to get with the music. And so I talked a lot with the composers about what I'm trying to achieve. And when they finally sent me the first version of the beginning of the film with the throat singing and everything, I cried like 5 minutes straight because I was so fucking happy that they understood what I was thinking about and really like bring their own stuff into it. I think it's a really cool piece of like soundtrack what we have in SISU.
I agree. Thank you so much.